We get to the Gold Coast Titans, Ollie. So they kick off. They have a pretty decent first start to the year, actually. They play
The Tigers. Yeah,
Tigers and the Dragons twice. Tigers, Dragons twice. Dolphins and Seagulls in the first 10 weeks.
So
end a bye.
So they'll probably win one.
So
and
if you
lose some games they're expected to win, as
Yeah.
is expected.
So
So,
then you double down with
yeah.
the Storm, the Eels, the Cowboys, and the Dogs.
Yeah.
And they'll probably beat one of those teams. And yeah, it's just,
Don't get too excited.
They play they play Brisbane, the Cowboys, the Bulldogs, the Dolphins, Dragons, Eels, Storm, and Warriors. Is that what you just said? Tigers twice. Player movements. So they've picked up Kieran Foran.
yes, they have.
Who
who's
that doesn't
going
look
to
like
play-
they're going to play.
No, they're playing him 6. Chris Randall from the Knights, Aaron Shoup, Joe Stimpson, and Sam Verrills.
I thought they were
They've
going to
lost-
play AJ at 6.
No. I'll get that.
No, already. Anyway.
Herman SASA's gone. Azako's gone. Lasoni, Masters, Marzu. They let you to go to Newcastle. Proctor, Will Smith, Corey Thompson, Jared Wallace. So, Ollie, give you first crack. So they have Holbrooks come out and said AJ starting at 1, Foran starting at 6,
Okay.
Tanner Boyd starting at 7, Verrill starting at 9.
I didn't actually see this, and I'm a bit. So
Campbell's
can I
dropped.
read out because this is
Jaden Campbell will be the Dylan Walker of
The 14.
of the coast.
okay. So this is what I'd have. Right, I've got a list here.
Yeah.
Campbell at fullback. I've got Sammy and Jojo Fafita on the wings. I liked what Fafita did for the little bit he showed
Absolutely.
last year.
Looks very good.
I would love to have Greg Margie starting at wing, but
I'd play
he's
for
at a different
I'd play
club.
for Feeder over him, to be honest.
In the centres, Aaron Shoup, and I just could not decide between Kelly and Herbert at this point.
Toss a
Whoever they
coin.
want to chuck
I
in.
put Herbert in for the sake of
They're
what
going to
he
be
did.
swapping spots every
Yeah.
2 weeks, so who cares? Brimson 4 on the halves, Fodawaker and Liu at prop, Verrills hooker, Firma and Fafita in the second row, Tino at lock, and then I've got Aaron Clark coming off the bench because I did think he did a very good job at lock towards the end of last year, so he can come on as a hooker or as a lock.
Yep.
Jamin Jolliffe, Sam McIntyre, and Joe Stimson, new signing from the Bulldogs. So the bench isn't.
Who are
isn't
you
very
starting
strong
front rowers?
there.
Sorry.
I've got
I had Mo and Leo as well.
Liu.
Liu.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
The forward depth
pretty
has gone
close
down
to,
a bit. The
pretty
depth's-
close to. Now, my
Absolutely.
concern when you put this 7 on paper, it's a very. There's a lot of pressure on Mo and Tino this year,
I
which
think-
there has been for 2 years. But it's a very small forward pack too. When you've got
It is.
Joe Stimpson's a body, I suppose, but Sam McIntyre, Aaron Clark is your.
But I don't even know if
next
Stimson
go-to.
gets a start, to be honest.
I had depends what they do with Chris Randall. Depends who going to play to.
You got Cleese Haas there as well, who's
Randall-
a mountain of a kid and does look
Tino's
like a
brother's there
decent
as well.
player.
Well,
Yeah.
when the Titans are 1 and 4, Randall's someone I can see them hot-shotting onto the bench
And
or
playing
something.
two
You know
hookers?
what I mean? Well,
This is like, and
instead
Aaron
of
Clark's a hooker
someone-
as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I don't think Verrills has ever been an 80-minute hooker, so there probably is question marks there around Verrills playing 80 minutes at hooker.
to me,
Yeah, go on.
this side just screams somewhere between 11th and 17th. To be honest, they could do okay and finish inconsequential, or they could be talked about for all the wrong reasons. I guess you could say finishing in that bottom 4. I would like to be optimistic. I think a fit Foran and a fit Verrills could be very good for this Titan side, but it's kind of whether or not they stay fit. At the Bulldogs, when Foran was playing and when he wasn't injured, he did show that he can be a decent enough controlling half, but he just wasn't playing enough in the role because he was injured. So at the Titans, that worries me a bit. But I don't know. I think Verrills as well, if he stays fit, can be a very good signing, giving good service to a Foran, but especially Brimson, who I would have at 5'8", if it was him playing there, getting him that service. Tanner Boyd starting in the halves. I mean, with all due respect, it's been about 3 years now he's been coming off the bench for the Titans, and he's just sort of not done much.
The alleged combination with him.
Played
and
okay.
Fafita.
Well, they had
their
that
best mates
that
and this, that, and
combination
the
at Keeper Park High School when they were in year
Yeah.
11, and it was nearly 10 years ago now.
He had a stretch of about 3 games last year where he played quite well coming in.
But
for
that
the
was
seven,
that was sort of coming off the bench, like
I think he started a couple of them, but
He's steady.
20 minutes. Like
for me, I'd be having Campbell at fullback. I can't see him coming in at 14 and making an impact. To be honest,
Well, he's not he doesn't have the size to be around the
absolutely.
ruck.
But you can't play him at lock. Yeah,
Can't play him
good
hooker.
luck putting him in at hooker.
Unless AJ might go into dummy half for that time.
You'd probably be better off playing
when,
AJ at 14, to be
yeah.
honest, because he can play centre, he can play fullback, he can play in the halves. But
I'm pretty sure AJ got when the old Holden Cup was around, he got Holden Cup Player of the Year playing as a hooker.
Or even Tanner Boyd.
So-
Tanner Boyd could play hooker, could play lock.
Yeah.
And you start with Foran at 7. I'm very surprised that Foran...
Because I think when he
you're
first
saying
got
now
picked
he
for
is
Origin,
going to play
AJ was off the
at
bench, and
6.
they were talking about how he plays 14. Yeah.
Foran can't play 6 anymore. He can't
No.
run. He can barely run.
Yeah.
He's got to play 7 and control this team. And yeah, anyway, I've got a funny feeling they won't play Shoop to start the year either. I think they're going to go with Kelly and Herbert to start
Well, that's the thing.
year.
They should be playing Shoop, I think. But as we know,
Shoop will end up taking the spot and taking over. But
they have got wraps on both Spry
Jermaine Spry.
and the other fast kid from... He's got the hyphenated name, I'll tell you now. Armin someone.
Just with Spry though, like
Yeah.
obviously the reason why he's not been around for a bit is nothing to do with rugby league,
No, that's right.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
and I
poor
think maybe he is someone who could come in if he's playing well, of course. But I just think maybe start him out in reserve grade at first, get him.
And I had
back on his
I had
feet.
Jolliffe to
Khan
start.
Pereira
To be
or
honest, yeah, Khan Pereira. I think Jolliffe
prop?
would probably be a better starting prop than Liu. I just think Liu adds a little bit more of coming in when they're a little bit tired.
Okay.
Jolliffe's got younger legs and a little bit more leg speed than what you get out of Liu. The rest of it explains itself. The big hope for this side's Bo Firma and David Fafita to score points out in the edges again, like the Warriors. They're going to be relying a lot on their back row and Tino, obviously, but Tino's not a noted try scorer, but if they put him in positions to score, I'm sure he'll score a few. Another team that just worries me so much with their depth, especially around this forward pack. You start going into the interchange for this team and it's going to drop away massively.
Beyond the
But literally,
interchange,
like I said, the 17 I picked had Chris Randall and Jaden Campbell on the bench because I couldn't find anyone else. I know they probably won't, realistically, because they'll want probably 3 big bodies. And then you got Aaron Clark and, like I said, Sam McIntyre.
Well, I had Aaron Clark, Liu, Cleese Haas. I think he probably deserves a spot on the bench, and I had McIntyre. But
yeah.
once you get outside that 17, I can't really find. The only notable admissions I had is Foran because I didn't think they were going to play him at 6. I thought he'd be left out and sort of come in a bit later when either Boyd or AJ falls over, but we'll see what happens there. You've got Sexton, who barely fired a shot last year. Spry, you mentioned. There's really nobody missing this side except for maybe Joe Stimson that's probably up to first grade level.
And when you've got that level of... Yes, you're going to start through. Yes, like Mo's probably going to be playing 70 minutes a week. He's after, and Tino's going to play 80.
He was playing him 25 last year.
Yeah, he was coming like
how
this
does he go from 25 to 70 minutes?
That then doesn't set up well for a team based off 3 running halves. AJ's Foran's a running half.
Yeah.
His strength. What I do like about AJ and Foran, I think, and maybe I'm talking
They
about...
do
5
have a
years
nice
ago,
short
I
ball
like
to be
the
able to
fact
put...
that it's perfect for AJ to have that short ball 5'8" that's going to run to the line,
Put him
pop,
on the inside.
and that's AJ's go in life.
And that helps with the big back rowers in Firma and Fafita as well.
I like that. I like that. But you've 3 Tanner Boyd's a running half as well, more or less. Not a
noted kicker.
Kieran's going to be... Foran's going to be
Who's
handling
gonna
most
kick?
of the kicking here.
His kicking game hasn't been great for a long time.
Well, he's got a good short kicking game.
He's got a good short kicking game.
This is going to be a lot of flat stuff to the line, hoping to pop someone through a hole.
Yeah, put him
which,
through
as I
half
said,
a gap.
AJ's very good at. And you got a Verrills, who fantastic player, but not Harry Grant, not a kicking,
not a noted
not
runner.
a noted
I guess you
kicker.
could say like a solid serviceman. He'll give
good serviceman.
decent enough ball out of dummy half, and it is an
defends
improvement.
well
I like
enough.
how every time we mention Sam Verrills, we talk about how good his service is.
Because I think because sort of in general you have
You
those
don't
players
it just
who-
goes hand in hand.
when he's not one of the best, but it's at least for
Good player.
the Titans. It's when you think about the hooker position and actually how
It's
it
out in
impacts the
front.
halves.
It brings players
it
onto
is
the
a
ball.
very
Yeah.
big
He's,
improvement.
But and that works for the running spine. I just have concerns. I would be putting Shoop straight into this team. He's shown he's a fantastic defensive centre. They need him. They need him to shore up one edge there because they're abysmal. Those the 2 Pelicans.
His run meters per game as well, I believe, is much better than literally like Sammy, Kelly,
And his defence is and his
like-
attitude and defence is heaps
he'll
better
work his
than
ass
both
off.
of those.
Jojo offers. Well, I guess they're backing him over Marzu, who they didn't want. So, sure.
Got a lot. There's a lot of talent in that kid. Another year or 2 in football, I think he'll be one of the better wingers going around. To be honest, there's a lot. Mate, the lack of quality depth in this team, especially in the forwards, is alarming. And they're going to need to play really up-tempo footy. They're going to need to be at the line, as you mentioned, a lot of ball movement, short ball movement, occasional long ball movement, and that's just the trouble teams.
Yeah.
That's just to score a couple of points.
Well,
and then they've got to rely on their defence to stay in a lot of games. I can see them losing a lot more games than they win this year.
When the Titans made the 8 2 years ago, right, and they did do so on a losing record, so they weren't amazing, but the big thing was every game they'd still concede close to 20 points. It's just they had it in them to score more. They had an attacking plan, but last year it all went to absolute knout because the edges just completely dropped off. Like, they were always bad at defence, but the attack was just woeful as well. Like, much more errors coming into their game. So I think that's something they really got to get down pat. But I think Mo's a big one as well because when we spoke about it, whilst he was still good and he was sort of restricted in terms of his game time, he wasn't as good as he was in a 2021 where he was more vital. So, I mean, it's no shock to anyone. But this year, if I see 3 weeks into the season, Mo's playing all right and Holbrooks named him on the bench, I think I might headbutt that wall over there. Like he literally can't now.
He's every chance of naming on a bench round one. And but
that's the thing. Like at this point, like, and we've talked about we've talked about the horrible depth though. Like
Chris Potato.
Realistically, when you look on paper, the Titans can't really afford to start Mo Fodawaker on the bench because someone who shouldn't be starting is going to replace. You've got absolutely no excuse now. I have
to assume that both Haas and the other Fasuamawali will be
in and around this 7-8.
I feel like those guys might be see how they go in reserve grade at least at first, see how the Titans are going, and then I think both will debut before the end of the season, of course.
He does seem reluctant to change the coach up there. But I wouldn't be surprised if one of them is starting on the bench by the start of the season, and within 3 or 4 rounds, I think they're going to have to go to the other one and just throw them in and hope these kids can add. Cause, like, the only real shining light I can see for the Titans is a couple of kids coming in and stamping themselves as top quality first graders and making this team a better team. Because aside from that back row, the back rowers and the lock, there's a lot of players here that are going to struggle to match up with first graders week in and week out.
They'll have 3 really good games, but in the last game, the Titans will lose 1-12, so they'll be dropped. That's usually what happens. Like,
I hate to say it. I
almost put them last, to be honest.
I think Holbrooks got 6 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Because they were woeful back in the last year. And I don't see how this Tigers will fucking wipe them off the park round one.
I think no. I say this. I think both teams are quite bad, so I'm not sure.
But anyway, if that happened, anyway, my point is, I don't want to bag him. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke. This is every time we sort of talk about.
We'll have him on the show. We'll have him on the show. We'll have him on the show.
Fantastic bloke, but he's now for 3 years failed to really bring. We've seen Toby Sexton look like a star. 2 years ago.
But then he got rid of his right-hand man.
He got rid of Fogarty. Yeah. Imagine if Fogarty was still at the Titans. We wouldn't have any of these problems right now.
Fogarty was the bloke who was making everyone look good in that team. And then they just went... Remember the shit we were talking about, how good fucking Fogarty was for the Titans,
I tried to get him to adopt me at one point.
We spent half a season blowing smoke up that bloke's ass, and then the coach just went, "Oh, no, he's still good enough."
Yeah. And then he won Canberra finals game last year.
He played what? Half a season for Canberra and was great.
He's not a
superstar, but fuck, he's good.
He's a good half.
And then we spent the other half of the season talking about the best front row in the game. He puts him on the bench.
He put him on the bench. Played him 20 minutes for a season.
But so my point is, Sexton's come and gone. Yeah. He obviously doesn't know what to do with Jaden Campbell.
No.
We see Yamazus of the world just not seem to... Like, is there a concern that he...
I don't understand what he had against Mazu either.
But what happened, so not only did they do a swap deal for Mazu, they did a swap deal for a hooker after they'd already signed a first-grade hooker and had a hooker on the bench.
Yeah. Like I said, God bless the bloke
who played hooker all year for you the year before.
And you know what? Mazu will score 10 tries at least for Newcastle next year and be great.
Absolutely.
So I think he's even money to be the first coach sacked.
Well,
he's got to be close.
We'll get to Newcastle, but I don't think it'll be O'Brien. Anyway, even if he does eventually get started, I don't think he'll be first. He'll get there's more leeway.
2 players I think will improve will be Shoop and Verrills. They they're coming off a bit of a low base considering the amount of game time they've had in the last couple of years. But I think they'll probably be 2 of the better signings for this Titans team. Sammy Herbert and Kelly, fuck me. If there's anyone under pressure in the NRL, it's those three blokes.
You know what'll happen?
Seriously.
Fafita won't start the first game. It'll be either Kelly or Herbert in the centres, and the other one will be on the wing.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But those three blokes, like only one of them will end up finishing the year, and it'll be the one who probably tackles better than the other two. So we'll see what happens there. And I've got Tanner Boyd under pressure too, to be honest.
What more? Yeah.
Like seriously, I don't understand why Foran wouldn't be playing 7. You wouldn't have AJ at 6 and Campbell at 1. I see that as a much more fluid attacking spine than what you're going to get out of what they're talking about. So.
Yeah. I can sort of see, like I said earlier, I can see what they're trying to do with having the 3 running halves. Executions.
But how's
You
AJ not
always
going to be a
need-
running half as well?
100%.
And I think you get more control out of
I
Foran
think
playing
it's-
7 than you do out of Tanner Boyd playing 7.
Maybe it's a little bit of hookism where he's like, oh, I'm going to back the older bloke to get us back on track. I don't know. Realistically, bottom 4.
Grave hopes
Bottom
for him.
4.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
got them, at the moment, maybe this is a slight bit of positive bias just because I'm looking forward to the season. I've got, in terms of where I've tipped them just above the bottom 4. But as I said, like for me, anywhere between 11th and 17th. And there's a very fine margin of error. Very fine.
Yeah. Anything else to add on these?
Not really,
Let's
mate.
move on.
Tino's going to have to carry some more blokes.
Or get carried, apparently.
No, well, he should try harder.
He's got to do more.